Hey guys, I'm Messi from WoW Weekly and welcome to this Warlords of Draenor Dungeon Quick Guide. Today we'll be taking a look at the boss encounters in the Heroic Shadowmoon Burial Grounds. First up is Sedana Bloodfury. A key thing to note initially about Sedana's room is that there are purple runes glowing on the floor. These should not be stood in as they deal about 45% of your health in damage, which can cause some issues for the healer. When pulling the boss, the first ability you will encounter is Daggerfall. This is a giant dagger above random, mostly ranged players' heads, which will also be indicated by a black swirl on the ground underneath them. It's important that you move out of this before the dagger hits the floor, as it will deal damage and it will stay there, pulsating damage if you're in range of it. The range is small however, so you shouldn't need to move far. Note that Sedana will get a buff randomly which will grant her 3 attacks dealing 20k damage each. This isn't avoidable however, so your tank will just have to take it and let the healer heal him up. Next up is Whispers of the Dark Star, which is an AoE that the boss will channel. The damage is fairly high, although it won't deal about 50% of your health. However, it can still be difficult to stay on top of things if people take too much damage from other sources. She will spawn an ad at the furthest point away and channel, whilst it will slowly move towards her. It's important that this ad dies as soon as possible, and that you stun it, preferably not in front of one of the falling daggers, because if the ad reaches her and the channel finishes, she will gain a damage increase. And on top of that, she will heal for 20% of her health. Dark Eclipse is her final ability, where the entire room will turn to darkness, and you must find a white rune to stand on somewhere in the room. It's important that you are still avoiding the purple ones, because they will still do damage, and the white ones do stand out pretty well. Not standing on a white rune at any point will cause you to take pretty high damage once the cast finishes, and the room is completely eclipsed. Knowledge is the second boss and pretty straightforward in terms of what to do. The first ability is a conal AoE cast at the tank. This does a fair bit of damage, so no one should be standing behind the tank. Planar Shift will be cast next, which is a teleport the boss will use to teleport to a random location or player. At that point he will cast Void Vortex, dragging players towards him and dealing damage the closer you get to the boss. This is easily avoidable with any blinks, teleports or speed boosts, and you can simply walk out of most of it as well, but it is a bit slower. Nalish's most notable ability is Soul Steal, where he will send you into the spirit realm alone, where you'll have to kill your severed soul. It's a ghost that is attached to you and will run away. If you successfully kill it, you have to click it. Once you do, you'll gain a damage and healing buff, and if not, you will simply leave the room after a duration. Finally, after this, Knowledge will cast a Void Devastation, which will shoot purple orbs into the sky, landing in random positions around the room. These are very easy to spot and very easy to move out of, so you should really only take 1 or 2 ticks. The damage of these ticks, however, is very manageable. Boma will be next, which is a boss that can be a bit frustrating depending on your setup. Melee are definitely not favored in this fight. The key ability to note is Body Slam, which is similar to a slam you'll have seen on the trash. The black/purple marker on the floor will pretty much indicate where you need to move out of. If you do get hit or somehow fall off the platform, the tornadoes available in each sector will also take you back to the platform if you merely swim to them. He will throw Necrotic Pitch, which are black puddles on the floor, and their spawning location are signaled by a purple swirly cloud. These deal minor damage over time and slow you by a large amount, and this will be useful for another ability which we'll get to now. He will inhale, slowly drawing in party members, increasing the speed of the draw as this channel keeps going. This is where the black puddles in the room come in. If you stand in them when he inhales, you will avoid getting sucked into the boss. If you do happen to get sucked in, you will also take a fairly large amount of damage and end up in the water, so you'll have to get back on the platform by swimming to the tornadoes again. Around 40% 2 carrion worms will spawn at either side of the entrance. You can pretty much just ignore these, as the damage they deal isn't really high, as long as you're not within melee range of them and you kill the boss. You can kill them if you wish, however the tank can't tank them all, and letting the boss free on the group is not a good idea, as the damage will get a bit out of control. These worms will also slam, and you'll have plenty of time to move into a safe spot. Ner'zhul is the final boss, and this boss can be fairly challenging depending on how much burst potential you have. The boss should be tanked facing away from the group, as he casts Malevolence, which is a large frontal cleave, which does a moderately large amount of damage, and also lowers damage dealt by 50%, which is a pretty big deal. Omen of Death is a purple beam which almost looks like a purple warlock demonic portal, not the gateway. This will spawn on a random ranged party member, so it's definitely advisable to keep the ranged far from where the boss and melee are. The further you are away from the Omen, the less damage you will take. Finally, he will cast a Ritual of Bones. This is a line of skeletons that will spawn with a huge purple wave behind them, dealing a huge amount of damage. It's pretty much impossible to run through this. To deal with this, you must kill one skeleton, which will clear a small space, enabling the group to run through it. It is at this point where you want all your DPS to swap to a marked skeleton, usually one around the center, and generally the tank avoids helping at this point, especially if you have melee. Otherwise you could potentially stand a chance to cleave the entire group as they run through, or just the melee while they try to help kill the ad, which will of course reduce their damage by 50%. After running through, it's pretty much a rinse and repeat and fairly straightforward fight. It's just a case of handling the skeletons well. Which is pretty much all you need to know to get through this dungeon. If you liked this quick guide, please comment, subscribe and click on the like button. Be sure to check out our other content at wowweekly.net, and if you would like to keep up with when new videos come out but you don't have a YouTube account, you can also follow us at Facebook or Twitter at facebook.com/wowweekly or twitter.com/bbmezzy. For now, I'm Mezzy, and I'll see you again next time.